Welcome to the Marketing Stack podcast. My name is Burhan, and on this podcast, we talk about all things marketing, all things digital. And in today's episode, I'm talking to Tom Jackobs, who's got a very interesting backstory, and we'll get into that in the episode. He hails from the fitness industry, where he actually competed as a professional bodybuilder. Is that correct, Tom?
Not professional, but I did do a competition.
Competitive
amateur competition. Yeah.
Amateur competitive bodybuilding, and has since transitioned into digital marketing, all things electronic, so that he could build a remote location independent business. And he's done some fancy stuff with Uber and like renting his car out in the US and all the rest of it. He now lives in Taiwan with a lot of Taiwanese people. And welcome to the episode, Tom.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
You and we've got a funny history because we met randomly, I think, on a Facebook group that was hosted by a common client. When you arrived or when you were coming to Bangkok, I messaged you and said, hey, let's meet up. Like, let's just get together. And that was like
let's
3
have
years.
A burger.
Yeah.
That was right. Yeah.
We had coffee or something. And that was 3 years ago. And believe it or not, you are the only client that I have met in person out of the 110 or 20 clients that I've met or worked with in the last 6 years.
That is amazing. Yeah. And that's pretty true for me right now as well. It's like I haven't met any of my clients, my current clients, face to face.
Yeah. I remember when you came to Bangkok, you did this digital nomad experience where you recorded and interviewed a whole bunch of digital nomads. I guess you were doing research for yourself on how to actually do the thing. So tell me a little bit of the backstory, how you got here, how you ended up in Taiwan, and then we'll get into some of the marketing stuff.
Yeah, okay, cool. And then if you want to link that YouTube experience, that's available on YouTube, so people can check that out. I think there's 6 episodes of 11 different nomads that I kind of had interviews with, and of course you were one of them. And it was a really great experience. That was my second kind of nomad experience going to Bangkok. My first one was in Mexico City for 30 days, and that was kind of the tip the toe in the water because Mexico City is a 2-hour flight from Houston. So it wasn't like I was going too far away. And then I jumped off the deep end and went to Bangkok for close to 8 weeks. So to Thailand for 8 weeks, but I spent a couple weeks in Chiang Mai and a couple weeks in Phuket as well. But Bangkok was definitely a good experience as well. I'd like to have gone back.
Oh yeah.
Except for the COVID deal. But as things happen. But you said I came out of the fitness industry, and that was really my big business that really took off. I always had side hustles and side gigs when I was working for the corporate stuff right out of university. But once I started the fitness business, and that was about 15 years ago, I just fell in love with it, and I decided to quit my day job. And I'd never been without like that safety net of salary, consistent salary, and that was my first time. And I almost went broke in the first 6 months.
As you do, as a newly born entrepreneur.
Right. Well, that was the kind of the conundrum in my head, is because I wasn't really newly born. I'd been doing all these other side hustles, and I'd had businesses before, but none that relied 100% on me to produce a result. And what I learned from that was that sales is what makes every business tick.
Yeah.
If you don't make a sale, you don't have a business.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you can do all the marketing in the world, but if you can't sell the people that are coming to you, it's going to fail.
And you can have the best product in the world too, but if you're not able to get it out into market to let people know about it, it's not going to run at all.
It's not going to sell. So I quickly learned how to sell. And that was the turning point in my life. And from that moment on, sales become very, very important, and kind of the self-study of everything sales. And so that's kind of the basis of what I do now is everything comes back to conversions. It's how do we convert to that next step, to the next step, to the next step. And that's sales. That's just kind of the sales process.
Yeah. And to translate that into sort of the digital world, it's so everybody's, especially today, everybody's so focused on growing an audience and getting followers and getting subscribers. But the only result that really matters, the only thing that pays off, that helps pay off all the effort, is the selling, the conversions, the thing that people do once they follow, once they subscribe, to actually
Yeah.
buy something.
Yeah.
You mentioned something interesting there was, like in learning about the fitness industry, and I've done my own research and tried to do the whole exercise, like full bodybuilding thing. I wasn't successful because I hurt myself. But what I learned in the research is that there's a very close connection or correlation between sort of hustling yourself or working yourself to death to get your body into peak physical shape and building a business.
Mm.
So do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'd never really thought about it, but you're absolutely right. There is a very strong correlation between the two, especially for the bodybuilding. That was a challenge that I wanted to put myself through because I had clients and I wanted to do a complete body transformation, kind of to the extreme in terms of doing a bodybuilding competition. And that is a 24-hour a day, 7-day a week process because you have to really pay attention to what you're eating. The exercise piece, is about an hour a day, to be quite honest. It wasn't a lot of exercise, but the other 23 hours of the day, I was really focused on the food, or not the food in some cases in between the meals, because I was having to eat every 2 hours.
Yeah.
And that's kind of when you correlate that to business as well. As an entrepreneur and a leader of your business, it's a 24-hour day, 7-day a week deal.
Right.
In people that have that employee mindset that try to go into a business oftentimes fail because they're not thinking about the business 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it's not to, and I'm not not one to say just go all in and hustle, hustle, hustle all the time, because I like the time off as well. But it's always in the back of your head. Like, I'll be on vacation and enjoying myself, but I'm always thinking about kind of what's next. And I think that's just the entrepreneur, kind of the chemistry that we have in our brains.
Yeah, it's what they call the growth mindset, apparently. I learned that term the other day. And I think the correlation, the connection there is the discipline. Because
Mm.
if you're sort of eating junk food sort of too many times a week or even a couple times a day or whatever, the mental side or the commitment that you need to actually get into physical shape is similar to the sort of grinding in your business or on your business to actually make it successful. And that's, I think, the one of the reasons why a lot of businesses fail, or why a lot of people don't actually get off the ground, because they just don't have that level of commitment. Not to say that
Mm.
it's required. Like, there are a lot of businesses that are lucky, but those are few and far between.
Yeah. But and also, if you look at all the successful kind of top CEOs and business owners out there, they all have a very specific exercise regimen in their. I mean, they're all in shape.
Yes.
You don't see an overweight, entrepreneur, leader of a major business.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like Jeff Bezos, Steve Jobs when he was alive, Mark Zuckerberg. I mean, they're all like in shape because again, it's that discipline. And they realize if I'm not taking care of me and my body, then I'm not going to be able to perform at my best.
Right. And with the exercise also comes that mental shift, because when you're exercising, you need to be in state. And Arnold Schwarzenegger talks about this, where in his books,
Mm.
where he talks about, well, you're not thinking about sort of all the other things in your life. If you're focused on getting your body into shape, you're focusing on that next rep, because it's the next rep that's actually going to help you lose the weight or build that muscle or do the thing. And I've watched tons of videos and interviews by him, read some of his books as well. he's a little bit of a hero in my mind, just in terms of him being able to do what he's done in his life.
Pretty
And
amazing.
yeah, like him or not, he's done some amazing things with literally nothing almost every time that he's gotten going. So let's move into some of the marketing stuff, some of the learnings that you've seen just in terms of getting your business started, and what you're doing, or what you're seeing out on the ground, or in the
Yeah,
wires, I guess.
in the wires. Sometimes on the ground.
Yeah.
On the I've spent time in the Philippines and in Thailand and now in Taiwan, but it's, in Bangkok especially, all the wires are just like this mess everywhere, and people just tap into it. And that sometimes, I took a picture of that once and I posted it up on Facebook. I think it was like 3 years ago, and put the question is, does your business look like this?
Mm.
Are there, or does your marketing funnel look like this, where there's like everything it's kind of duct tape and baling wire put together? And for a lot of businesses, and I've been guilty of it as well, is you can have piece things together to get it up and going as quickly as possible, but without really doing the full thought process through it. And there's a balance there as well, because version none is better than version one is better than version none. Freudian slip. But it's, so you have to get it out there, but at the same time, there has to be a plan in place, and it can't be this jumbled mess. And when I'm looking at marketing funnels and how our service kind of dovetails into a lot of our clients, a lot of times there's just not this thought process that's been put through in terms of, oh, I didn't even think about that, or it's broken, and like if one little thing just kind of slips, it breaks the entire funnel.
Right. And that's
And go ahead.
Go on.
Well, I was going to say, people are relying so heavily on the automation and on the digital side of it that they're also forgetting about the human side of marketing as well.
And it's so, like, it's okay to be like in a sticky type of situation in the beginning, but I think when it comes to like optimizing and scaling a little bit, like scaling is kind of an interesting word, because it's like, when I think of scaling, I'm thinking like $10 million business, like big numbers. But it's necessary because, like you said, the planning and the thought process. But it's really difficult, especially today, because there's so many new tools, there's so many new things that are coming out, and so many like marketers trying to sell these tools on top of affiliates. And it's like, oh no, this tool does something a little better than the other one. And then you have clients switching, and then it's like, oh wait, this thing doesn't do this other thing that we wanted, and the old thing did it, and this new thing doesn't. And it's like, and so I see a lot of that too, instead of like focusing instead on what is the process, what is the system, and what is the sales cycle, and then fitting the tools into that. I think a lot of people today are focused on tools because the marketers who sell the tools are brilliant and they're very good at what they do. It's the same as like selling chocolates, right? People want to lose weight, always get into the chocolate binge or the McDonald's at some point in time. I'm not saying everybody, but some people do. I know I'm guilty of that.
Yeah.
Because the marketing has just been good.
Were you watching me?
Like,
but yeah, you're right. Absolutely. The marketing, for sure. Like you're absolutely right. Let's fit the hammer to the nail, or the nail to the hammer. And it's sometimes completely backwards.
Right. And it's because, like I said, a lot of people are selling their solution while it looks like the solution, but in isolation, it might not fit your entire business. Like it might not work in the entire sales cycle.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that you mentioned, is like the physical versus the digital, or the human versus the digital world. While hopefully all humans online are humans.
Yes.
Well, let's not go into the Jordan Harbinger show where they were talking about the Russian stories, but the human side, and that's what you've done with your service. So, and I think this is what you're doing is almost like a lost art, or it's an art that's slowly withering into Neverland, if I can say.
The
So
ether.
yeah, that's the word. Thank you. So tell me a little bit about that, and why what you do is so unique, and why it's like necessary.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, your digital marketing is great and has its place, but how many emails do you get a day? I
Too
get,
many?
too many, and most of them go right into the bin. I don't unsubscribe as much because every once in a while I'll see a title or a subject line
Mm-hmm.
that catches my attention, which subject lines are supposed to do that. And I'm going to click on it and see kind of what that's all about. And oftentimes it takes me down a rabbit hole of buying something at the end of it.
Right.
And that's fine. But what about all the emails that same marketer sent me that were trying to pitch their same service?
Mm-hmm.
And I've been on some lists for a couple of years and never purchased anything from them.
Yeah.
And I might read a few things and go, oh, that seems interesting, but it just didn't strike me at the time. And
Right.
then maybe one day I see something and I'm like, oh, that I could use that right now. And
Mm-hmm.
then boom, there's a purchase made. But what if that same marketer sees that I'm opening emails and kind of my interest level is starting to go up a little bit, and there's automation that can tell you all of that, and all of a sudden I get a phone call from them
Mm.
and saying, oh, we have X, I wanted to introduce myself. This is what we have. We have actually a special webinar coming up and we'd like to invite you to it. I mean, nobody's doing that
Right.
except for
Nobody's doing
us.
phone calls. Well, they are, like I said, it's kind of like a dying art, and there are people who do. There are
Mm-hmm.
telemarketers out there. There are other businesses that do similar to what you do, but it's not as many as we run your Facebook ads, or we'll take care of your email campaigns,
Yeah.
or
Yep.
it's one of those things that people have, I think, because of the effort involved in picking up the
That's
phone,
exactly it.
and also because of the rejection that comes with that process, because it's like you may only get 2 out of the 100 people you call actually answer the phone, and you obviously know more numbers than I do, but
25%.
25% of people will answer the phone, even though you have their real phone numbers and they opted in on a landing page. It's
Yeah.
kind of like a lot of business owners, and even their employees, if they have people working for them,
Ugh.
don't want to go through that cycle of like, oh, am I going to get the 25 today?
Yeah.
Because there may be days where you hit zero for days in a row. And it's the same with advertising, except with advertising,
Mm-hmm.
you can kind of hide behind like, oh, Facebook is doing its weird thing today. Like you have blame. But
Yeah.
when you're calling people, it's you doing the action, or your people doing the action. So talk to me
Yeah.
a little bit
Yeah.
about that, and how, what you see.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the value prop of what we do is we're taking that off of their plate. And one of my clients really summed it up really well. He's like, "Look, I have the staff that can make these phone calls, but I don't want them to, because the moment that they get a hang up or somebody being abusive to them on the phone, now it goes throughout the office. Everybody gets all excited about this one phone call. And then I have to get involved in the phone call. I'm like, oh my gosh, somebody's upset with us on the phone. We should not call people anymore. He was like, the value of me not even hearing about that crap is like awesome.
Yeah,
So you deal with it and deal with it however you want,
right. Let your
because
people
it's like
go
a
down.
virus. Yeah.
Let your people get it, and we'll just be fine. And it comes
Yeah.
down to what you said, what we spoke about earlier, about focusing on what is important. While the calls are
Mm-hmm.
important, it's also the culture of the people. Because
Yep.
if you see your business as an engine, as a machine, as a system, as a producing thing, something that you know
Yeah.
makes good in the world, then you have that negativity in the office, or even if it's remote, like your remote team, it's very easy for like a Slack thread to get completely sidetracked because of
Mm.
one person's problem.
Yeah.
And I think that's also comes down to just managing expectations and managing what's most important and giving out or outsourcing the bits that you know are needed,
Yeah.
but you don't need to do yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's part of our business is conversions, and it's taking the human conversions. So we do like the webinar confirmation. So converting somebody that's opted in for a webinar, converting them to somebody who shows up for the webinar, and having that live voice call helps in that. And then converting that person who attended the webinar to actually book a discovery call. And then on the discovery call, which we're doing sales as well, is converting that person to a paid, a low barrier offer. So now our client can have a really good prospect who's paid a little bit of money sitting in front of them, ready for the bigger package,
Right.
ready to go. And they've not done anything. They haven't spent any time doing it.
Mhm. And I think one of the barriers for people also not doing the calls is because it costs money, right?
Mm.
So if you're paying $5, $10 a lead on, say, from a Facebook ad, hopefully you're not paying that much. But if you are paying a certain amount for a Facebook lead, then now adding the phone call, you think, oh goodness, it's going to cost me like $4, $5, $10 for a phone call, and then you're only going to hit 25% of them, and then only a couple of them are actually going to attend your webinar, and only a couple of them are actually going to book a discovery call. At the outset, you may think, oh, the numbers are not going to add up, but
Yeah,
if you run the process and you optimize and tweak things, it does, or it can.
absolutely. Yeah, when you're consistent and persistent, and that's my little tagline when I talk to salespeople is you have to be consistent and you have to be persistent.
Mm.
It's not a pest either, but persistency and consistency with what you're doing, and you will be successful because there's going to be down days, there's going to be up days. So if you're consistent throughout, everything gets leveled out.
Right. And one of the things that you've taught me as a coach as well is that process of like, well, these are the things you need to do daily, whether it's exercise or whether it's eating or whether it's even business things. There are going to be some down days, there are going to be some challenges, there are going to be things that break, like Zapier or whatever, going
Mm-hmm.
nuts, because tools do break. And it's just the remembering the bigger picture and realizing that while it may cost you a lot of money up front, but then there's always lag in a business. There's always, like you said, you get emails from people for months or years, and then you convert later on. And
Yeah.
because that person was consistent in sending out those emails to you and kept you on their list for God knows how long, eventually when the time was right, it sparked your interest and you converted. And I think a lot of people are just too quick to throw out a strategy or throw out a tactic or throw out a tool or throw out a process or fire a person because, oh, the thing didn't do the thing that they expected today.
Yeah. That one time. Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we've booked people. So we put them through a 30-day process. Not that we call every day for 30 days, but there's a process over 30 days where we're consistently and persistently following up with warm leads. And there's so many that have booked on like day 25 out of 30. And the email that comes back from them is, oh my gosh, I've been super busy. Who knows
Yeah.
what people are doing these days? Super busy watching Netflix. And, I totally forgot about this. Thanks for following up. Let's go ahead and book that appointment now. And, it's 25 days after the fact. Most businesses, and there was a franchisor that did a study, and it was like 70% or 72% of the leads that were coming in were never followed up with, like zero. A warm lead came into the business and nobody followed up with them. And then of the ones that were followed up, they were followed up maybe once, maybe twice with a phone call. Of course, it's easy just to send an email, but it's also easy to delete an email, or it's easy for just one keystroke from not having the right email address.
Mm-hmm.
So a phone call or a text message or both goes a long way in terms of getting people excited about taking that next step, because they already took the first step and saying, "Oh, you know what? I'm interested. Tell me more about what you do." And then, for a company to then just like slap them in the face and say, "Yeah, I'm not going to call you."
Right. And then there's also something
Ridiculous.
to be said about people who are cold calling from lists that they buy, because this is not what you're talking about.
No,
This is
no.
part of the sales process, or a part of the lead funnel, where because the lead came in and they gave permission to contact them via the phone number or via the email address, this is the process. And so
Yeah.
again, like this, like what you did, and I remember you consulting me when you were here in Bangkok 3 years ago, when we had the idea to start this
Mhm.
thing. And I immediately saw the opportunity, because yes, in the years that I've been working, even before, phone calls are just a thing. Even me myself, like I shy away from the phone. Like I have phone numbers, but I don't
Oh,
call
me
them.
too.
And I know that it's a necessary skill. But again, it like comes back to, so you've recognized that sales is important, like I did too. I went through this process of working for a corporate company. I got some sales training there. Then I went into banking, similar work, but in a different niche, and then started my own business. And that business, even though it was scrappy and I started from a garage making custom furniture, it was the phone calls. Like the leads used to come through from sort of little ads that I had out on the internet, or people referring. But if I didn't call them, if I didn't actually pick up and say, "Hey, are you free right now? Can we chat about this thing that you wanted? And let's book an appointment to like come and see you and come and see your place and figure out what type of furniture you wanted me to make for you," that wouldn't have happened. And that exercise of actually getting used to picking up the phone and going to visit people, as I do now, in terms of sending WhatsApp messages or sending the emails, or immediately when somebody contacts me, it's like, "Hey, do you want to jump on a call and let's figure this thing out," whether it's from LinkedIn or Facebook or wherever they come through. That's, in my opinion, the most important step. And I am so
Absolutely.
happy that you consulted me, and also that you followed up on what you were going to do. And you've built this,
Yeah.
like, I don't want to, maybe you call it an empire. I think you've built something really special, and you've taken what I've taught you and turned it into something very, very cool. So I'm very proud
Yeah.
of
Oh,
of
thank
you
you.
for that. So talk a little bit
And
about.
thanks for the help
Oh
along the
yeah. I mean, it's
way.
also why we're friends, right? So tell me a little bit about some of the learnings, something that the audience can take away, apart from just like, "Hey, you have to call your people." Like, what else? What are the tips, like while they're on the phone, or
Yeah.
what are the things that people should consider, if you were to list maybe the top 3 or the top 5 things?
Yeah. So first of all, just when on the phone and getting ready, or whoever's doing the phone, always have a script. And that doesn't mean reading it word for word, because then that's just screams telemarketer. But there needs to be a script so they know kind of what to say, what questions to ask, and they need to be strategic in that conversation to get the person excited to take the next step. So and even if it's just booking an appointment, that's still a sales call in my opinion, because you're selling the appointment. No money is exchanging, but you're selling the appointment at the same time. So the script is primary, the first thing to have. And then the second is just the telephone etiquette. I can't tell you how many times I've heard other people like answer calling warm leads, but they treat them like cold leads. And I
Mm.
go, "Oh, hi, Burhan. This is Tom."
Why should
Okay,
they
yeah,
care?
and there's just like who's taking control of that conversation.
Mm.
So that's the second thing. You have a script. The second is take immediate control of the conversation and kind of learn people's names too, right?
And
So
pronunciation.
you you're right. So I'd be like, "Hey, Brian, this is Tom from blah blah blah. You've registered on our website. Do you remember doing that?" That's always the first thing. we started off with a question, and we interrupt that pattern that's in people's heads already by going, oh, did I do something? Yeah, you did. You entered you saw a Facebook ad or whatever it happened to be. You entered your name and email address and phone number in a website. I'm responding to you. And I can't tell you how many times we've had people go, oh my gosh, that's so quick. Because that's the rule number 3 is, you have your script, number 1. Number 2 is you take immediate control of the conversation. And then the third is that you respond immediately to that lead. If you go more than 10 minutes, that lead is getting, colder and colder and colder, super ice cold after like an hour. And if you try to call them the next day, forget about it, because they've forgotten about it. Even when we call people within 10 minutes, they're still like, what did I do? Yeah, you filled out I don't remember doing that. No, literally, it was 10 minutes ago. It's like, oh yeah, I was in line at the bank, and I guess I did that. Right. I was like, because people are going through, they're in a trance all day for the most part, and they're just like, oh, that looks like an interesting ad, and there it goes. But if a phone call had not gone out to them, then they would have forgotten about the webinar that they signed up for, or the whatever it is that they signed up for. And now that memory jogger is like, oh, do you remember doing that? And then prompting them through the process. And they're like, oh yeah, I do remember that.
And Gary Vee talks about that as well. So he's all about grabbing people's attention. And that's exactly what you're doing, is you're breaking that pattern of their day-to-day. Sure, in some instances, maybe you're disturbing them because maybe they're on the toilet or whatever, so they don't answer, or they do, and then it's like, can you call me later? But if they're polite, but
indisposed,
right? But then there's this, and I'm guessing you're getting to this next is, or if you don't, I would add this to the list too, is follow up, try a couple times instead of just calling once.
Yeah. If you don't get them on the phone, then you have to have a follow-up process. And what we're seeing at our call center is that the average time to get somebody on a call is 11 touches, 11 phone calls and text messages that go out on average. And that includes the ones that go through the entire process of 30 days and expire because they never responded to anything.
In the marketing world, or digital marketing world, they'll talk about 7 touches. This is what Google has also published, is that it takes seven touches, but that's all online. These are not phone calls. So now you're adding those 11 to the 7 that are already going out digitally. And that's insane. So it's like, if I need to call somebody, it's like an extra 11 or 12, and maybe you get the person. So now it's an extra 15. So it's like 20, 25 minutes per lead.
Yeah.
But what does that do for your business, Tom?
Well, it exponentially grows the business. I mean, it's incredible. We just got a new client last week. He had his first webinar, and it was webinar to discovery call to him doing a paid consultation. And he had been doing this for 3 months on his own. And he's like, I've had maybe 2 discovery calls, and I haven't had any paid appointments in 2 months of doing this on my own. Can you help? And I don't want to do any of the discovery calls. I just want to sit down with people and do the paid consultation. So absolutely, we can do it. Trained up the staff. First webinar that we did got a higher show rate than he got before, and had more people booking discovery calls because he had more people listening. And then we booked 2 paid calls for him in the same day, like within like 5 hours, the day after his webinar. And he was like, oh my God, how did you do that?
Well, you asked me to.
Well, we made the phone call. we were persistent and consistent with following up, and we just booked the call. But that's because we have a singular focus. It's converting on the phone. And if you're running a business, you're paying payroll, you're doing this, you're doing that. Oh, the phone is the last thing that you want to pick up and dial, unless you have a process built into your own business where you set aside power hour. That's what I call it. Power hour is you dial for dollars or pesos or baht or NT dollars, whatever, pounds.
So I think you went through 3 or 4 things. What's the
4? Yeah, so the first one is scripting. You have to have a script on the phone. The second one is take immediate charge of the phone call. So you break those patterns. The third was, what was the third?
follow-up?
No, that's the last one was a follow-up. Yeah. Being persistent and consistent on the phone, I think.
I'll go through the recording.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll cut this piece out.
Good. What were those 3?
Sorry, I caught you on the spot there.
You should have written them down.
Yeah, that's a good video.
Because they were good.
Yeah, that was a good video.
I have done it on videos because but the video or doing a script, doing the take immediate control, and then the follow-up, and something in between.
So where can people find you if they want to get in touch, if they want to follow you, if they want to stalk you?
Yeah, awesome. So most of my handles online are Tom Jackobs. So at Tom Jackobs, TomJackobs. Looks like Jacobs, but it's pronounced Jacobs. And then the name of the business is businessleadmaximizer.com, because that's what we do, maximize those leads for the business.
And if you want to test Tom's service, he's actually got a lead magnet on his website. What is the link to that lead magnet? So we can actually prove to people that the phone call happens after 10 minutes or within the 10 minutes. Within
10 minutes of normal call time. Yes. So normal call time in the US is between 9 a.m. and 8 p.m. Mm-hmm. But so they right on the landing page or right on the homepage of the website, businessleadmaximizer.com, there's a form to fill out to test the service.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tom, for being on the episode. I think this was super fun and super helpful for the audience as well.
Awesome.
We'll catch you on the next one. And all the links for the episode will be down below. If you want to get in touch with Tom, his details will be below the episode too, or in the show notes, wherever you're watching or listening to this podcast. So thank you so much. Thanks, Tom, for having me.
Thanks for having me on the show, Brian.